turn
Hello,
you on.
everybody. Welcome to Music Matters podcast with Darrell Craig Harris. And I have an awesome guest today, somebody that I've admired for many years and is a legendary rock and roll bass player, is Mr. Billy Sheehan. How you doing, Billy?
I'm good, Daryl. How are you?
I'm good. So you're in Nashville, right?
Yes, I am. We've been here for 3 years now, and we love it. It's just great, really
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's such a beautiful part of the world. I love it down there. Plus, it's all music, of course, too, which is
It's Music City. They're calling it the new LA. My wife's a real estate agent. She must have. There's so many people calling from California.
well, yeah, I can imagine, especially these days. But yeah,
Sorry to
But-
say, I love LA and I love California.
yeah, I'm actually a Huntington Beach guy myself. I mean, I miss that. I live in Vegas now, of course, but I'm not.
Yeah, I
I'm not
miss it,
so far.
but
Away.
unfortunately, it was just kind of getting dangerous for us to be there. My
Sure.
wife, on tour, and she's home alone, so
Yeah.
it's tough. I feel for those people back there. I hope it gets straightened out.
Yeah, I hope so too. So actually talking about that, so obviously it's been a super crazy year. um,
I
how's it? I mean, you're probably not used to being home this much, right?
think it's the longest I've been home since the '70s.
Yeah, I know. Well, actually, me too. Like it's weird. I'm just, especially the summertime, I'm like itching to go out and do stuff.
But the good thing about it is no airports.
Well, that yeah,
And I fly so much. People that don't fly a lot, it's exciting and it's new and it's cool. But you got to do it every day. It's just awful.
yeah. While flying with, well, I don't know. Do you fly with a base, or do you usually have your stuff's on the
I
road?
usually carry one with me, but that
okay.
also does lead to some problems sometimes.
Yeah.
I was fortunate. A wonderful gentleman who worked for United Airlines was kind enough to give me a special status so I could get my base on board no matter
awesome.
what. And
Yeah.
I really am thankful to United Airlines. For
I know
doing
that's always that's a stressful thing, right? And sometimes you get on the puddle jumpers, it's just not going to fit.
I was standing in line at Heathrow Airport.
Right.
No, sorry, it was an airport in Spain.
Okay.
And ready to board, and two people came over to me in uniform, the airline people, and I had flown there with my base and done my thing and done other flights with my base, and I'm standing to get on the flight. They took the little velvet rope, opened up, and said, "Sir, could you step out? You're not getting on the plane. We've removed your luggage."
Oh wow.
I said, well, could you maybe have told me?
Yeah. Right.
No,
What's up with
no.
that?
So it just basically said GTFO.
I know. Yeah. I know. That's the thing, because you never know, right?
Wow. Fortunately, some wonderful people in Spain there were kind enough to help me out, and I got
Yeah.
on the plane.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, the flying thing is people don't. They think of the glamorous life of a musician, and it's like the stage part's the easy part, right? It's all the other
Oh,
stuff.
that's all I live for. Those 2 hours on stage makes everything else kind of fade away, but everything else is rough. And I remember going out on tour, and we brought a new guy out with us who just, I would it'd be great to be out, be like a crew guy for the band.
Right.
Within about a month,
I'm gonna be a roadie.
he was in the fetal position, literally crying for his mommy.
Yeah,
he was.
You know what, man? I mean, I've done that. I've done backline for a bunch of people. I worked at J-Lo and Miley, and people don't realize what I mean. Like again, like the musician thing, they think, oh, you do the gig, you go back, but like the crew guys, that's a 24-hour job when you're on the road, right?
Oh, it's incredible.
Yes.
And it's well, it's very satisfying. Those 2 hours that you're on stage, it's there's nothing like it in the world. And I always urge people, to play and perform, no matter in whatever capacity.
Yeah, whatever your passion is, right?
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, so what have you been focusing on since you've been home so much? Have you been recording? What have you been up to?
Lots of recording. We're up to about 100 songs now.
Wow.
We've done for clients. I started a little production team myself. Ray Lugier on drums from Korn.
Oh, right.
Dear friend of mine lives here in Franklin.
Killer. Yeah, killer player.
Scott Bush. He's a guitar player, but he's also a Pro Tools expert and a great mixer. So
awesome.
We just whip tracks out for people all over the world. We've done it for people in Poland and Belarus and Russia and China and Taiwan. And
the world's changed for that, right? It's like it's now it's a global thing. It's interesting.
So we've done tracks for people all over the place. And it's been cool. I've never really been a studio guy. When I play in the studio, I go in and play the songs of the band I'm in.
Sure.
That we rehearse, get out, and then we go on tour and perform them. So to sit around and try to figure things out and do different tones, and
Have
it
that
was
have
never
the
all
time to
about
do that, right?
so now I even played on a couple of country tracks. Don't hold it against me.
Oh, it's all good. Hey.
I'm not a country guy, but when I do it, I wanted to make sure and do it like they want it, because
Right.
we really want people to be pleased when we perform on their record.
Right.
So one of my basses in particular is the bass I used on the Mr. Big song Wild World, our cover of Wild World.
Okay.
And for some reason, it sounds either like a fretless or like a stand-up bass, more like a stand-up than anything else.
Right.
So I'm playing it on these country tracks, and people are hearing it going, "Is that a stand-up bass?"
I didn't know
really,
Billy played double bass.
it sounds like it.
Yeah,
So
cool.
it's pretty cool. So it's big fat whole new notes in time, just implying a couple of things, a few little subtle slight moves,
Yeah.
and that's what the style calls for. And it worked out just fine, and they were very pleased with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the thing about your playing is that you have a very distinctive style. How did you develop that? I mean, because as people know, when they hear you, they know it. I mean, that's a unique thing.
Well, it just came from playing songs in bars for decades,
Right.
song to song to song.
Up in Buffalo and that.
Yeah, we started basically in the Buffalo area, and then we spread out to any place within a 12-hour drive.
Right.
We could do from Buffalo, New York, which included a lot of the East Coast and Boston, New York, New York City, Pittsburgh, Chicago, all over the place, Montreal, Toronto, all kinds of places. We played in all over the place. But just playing, because when you play a song and perform it live, you have to do some justice to it. So you got to be able to play that genre, at least convincing,
right,
to some degree. And we played a little of everything. The list. I'd like to do a list of the songs I've performed.
Yeah, it's probably a long list.
We did Three Dog Night, Grand Funk Railroad,
Sure.
Bebop Deluxe, King Crimson, Kansas, everything by the Beatles and the Stones and Hendrix and Trower and everything. So yeah, once in a while, I remember we did Danny's song,
right,
by Loggins of Messina or by Kenny Loggins.
Sure.
Just a little acoustic song. You could call it countrified, but we just did a nice version of it as a slow song in the set. Sure. And you have to play it so it sounds. You can't.
It's got to be in the genre, right?
Yeah, you can't do any other stuff. So it was a great lesson to learn that and at the time I wasn't learning it necessarily. It was just kind of absorbing into me. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on, and I never thought about developing a style.
Right.
I just had to play songs and get them right and hear what notes I was doing.
And there was a lot of great, I mean, in that Buffalo area, we have some mutual friends from Buffalo that I've played with, but that area, like there's a lot of great players, right? You have the guys, Spyber Gyra guys. There's just like a long list of great players.
Yeah. Ted Reinhardt was the drummer, their first drummer, I believe. And I went to high school with Ted. Right. He's quite a famous drummer in the Buffalo area. And we were in our first band together right out of high school. And he was just a great player. There's a lot of great players in all of these northeastern kind of Great Lakes cities, because all of them were much more important cities than they seem to be now.
Right.
I mean, Buffalo was a huge, important city because of the Erie Canal. That's how all the goods, you couldn't go over Niagara Falls, so you had to stop, get in the Erie Canal and take your goods down to New York City. Yeah. And for a long time, Buffalo was one of the most important cities in the country, long ago.
Well, like you said too, like there's a lot of in that within like a 10 or 12-hour drive, there's like major, I mean, you got New York, Boston, all those places. And that kind of breeds, I think that those concentration of great players breeds competition. It kind of pushes you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it was, generally things were friendly back in Buffalo back in the day, but it was competitive. And then as the pie got a little smaller, it got cutthroat and got a little ugly, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, what can you do?
So was that when you were doing those clubs? Was that with Talus, or was that even before Talus?
Oh, that was all Talus. We started in about 71 or 2, the original lineup with a guy named Mike Piccolo on drums.
Cool.
Then it changed to the second version, then a third, then a fourth. Then the version that recorded Sink Your Teeth into that was the 5th version. Then that stopped, and I was out of the band for about a year.
Right.
And then we got back to the fifth version again. Then that version turned into version 2, which was actually the ninth iteration.
Wow.
And then we changed guitar players again. So
yeah, it's tough, you know, that doing that kind of club thing and you're on the road and all that. It's tough. It takes a toll on people, right? Like it's hard. It's rare that you see bands in that situation stay together for years. It seems like it's
yeah,
rare.
well, it can be, but I know now a lot of people talk about how tough the road is, and we just mentioned it before. But
Right.
once I get in my groove, I could, if I'm on a proper bus,
Right. Exactly.
I could go for years.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, plus you got your buds around you, your family on the road, and it's like that's your
Yeah.
comfort zone, right?
There's privacy, and especially
Yeah.
the European buses. We got these double-decker
Sure.
German buses, and they're just perfect and pristine. And
Yeah.
driving through the Swiss Alps and looking at it's fantastic. So,
Yeah, I know. It's so gorgeous. It's
so
how did
I'm at a situation now where when I tour, it's not in a van.
yeah, it's nice. It's a better situation. So the Van Halen situation, like I know you guys opened for Van Halen, right? You did like 30 days with Tallis, I think. Is that how the David Lee Roth thing sort of came about, or how did that happen?
Yeah, yeah, that's how they kind of found out about me. I remember the first date of that tour on October 3rd, 1980. We were in the dressing room. We didn't really get a sound check, but we were able to get a line check to go up and make sure everything worked.
Sure.
Sometimes you don't even get that.
Yeah, you don't know, right?
Up there and just start, and you go in there, and it can be. It's called a throw and go. Just toss it up and hope that everything works.
Yeah.
But they were kind enough because you can do a line check quick, just make sure everything's coming through the PA, and then we went, and they were already sound checked and gone.
Right.
So I'm in the dressing room, and it was kind of an L-shaped room, and I'm facing the guys in my band, and the hallway to come in is to my right, and they can't see who's coming in.
Right.
And the door opened, and I looked over, and it was Ed Van Halen. I never met him.
Wow. And he was like, how old was he then? He was in his early 20s, probably, right?
1980. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah.
And the first thing he said is, "Which one of you guys is Billy Sheehan?"
That's funny.
Me. I am.
It's me. I score.
So
awesome.
I think he may have heard about me from Denny Carmassi,
okay,
who I played with Michael Schenker in '79. We worked on Michael Schenker's first solo record.
Right.
Gotcha. Denny was in Montrose.
Oh, okay.
Rock Candy drummer.
Yep.
Then he went on to play in Heart later on. A great guy and a great, awesome drummer. He got more gigs from the opening beat of Montrose, Rock Candy.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a big song.
Right? 1,000 drum sounded so amazing. So sure. Maybe Denny may have told him about it.
Cool.
But we became acquaintances and hung out, and they were very kind to us. And at the end of that tour, Ed initiated for me to get in touch with him, and then things happened after that. I didn't really talk too much to Dave initially, but then we did have a couple of moments where we.
Yeah. How was it? So how did that happen? Did you just get a phone call from Dave's management when he left Van Halen, or how did that take place?
Nobody knew anything about what was going on with Van Halen. We got a call, and it was Dave wanted to speak with me about being in his movie.
Oh, okay, interesting.
What?
Okay, interesting.
And so I just happened to be going out to LA to start the tour with Yngwie.
Oh, okay.
Yngwie tour.
Right.
I had a day off, so they drove me out to Dave's house, and sure enough, he said, "There is a movie, but." That's a cover story because I didn't want anyone to know.
Sure, yeah.
I quit Van Halen. I go, wow, holy shit. So, jeepers. So then he said, how about if you and me, let's put a band together. We'll find a guitar player, we'll find a drummer, and we'll go out. I said, well, I didn't say this to him, but in my mind, there's no band. I wouldn't leave Tallis for any other band except for Van Halen.
Yeah.
And then I said, close enough.
Yeah, right. I mean, at that point, they're on top of the world too, right? Like they
were the biggest band in the world. They just finished 1984, and it's the summer of '85.
Right. Yeah. And then also, so how did that come about with getting Greg and Steve? Is that calls that you guys made? Did you do auditions, or how did that happen?
No, Steve Stevens was the original guy Dave was looking at, and Steve's a great player and awesome. But he was at a commitment with Billy Idol. So I told Dave, I know another Steve, because Steve and I were on the same label, Relativity, out of New York City.
Okay.
Uh, I had gotten his a flexible record from them, and then they
Okay.
talked about maybe me and Steve doing something together. So I'd actually communicated a little bit. I'm not sure if we communicated directly or not regarding Steve about maybe playing together. So
Wow.
when I saw him in LA after I was already there, and people were wondering, well, what are you doing in LA? Why aren't you home in Buffalo? So, oh, nothing.
Just stuff.
It was a state secret. We couldn't tell anybody anything.
Yeah, and I mean,
Just,
obviously Steve's like an amazing player, but also Greg. I mean, I love Greg's such a great player.
yeah, I remember I said to Steve, "There's something I can't tell you about right now, but there might be something you might be interested in." And he goes, "I think I know what you mean." So maybe he had a hint about it. So
Oh, okay.
we,
Interesting.
I told Dave, and Ted Templeman was very into Steve also, so that worked out great. Then Dave gave Steve and I the task: go out into the wilderness and bring back a drummer. So we hired SIR rehearsal, me and Steve and Dave's secretary Karen, and we booked about 40 drummers to come in. There's a line down the street of drummers, to come in. And Greg walked in, and the moment he walked in, we knew he was the guy before he even played.
Yeah, he's a sweet dude too, right?
He just had it. And Steve and I looked at each other, and we know. And sure enough, I think we gave him a tape of the songs we were working on, because we had actually used a drummer that played with Steve to do some demos. A guy named Chris Frazier, who was also an amazing drummer. So Dave was, for some reason, wanted somebody else, and so we came in with Greg. He knew every song exactly before the first snare drum hit.
Right.
So he had it together completely. And
yeah, he's a North Texas guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite human beings in the world.
Yeah, and his brother Matt. Well, Matt's now playing with Elton, right? I think.
Yeah, Elton John's bass player, not bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, both those guys. I saw them when I was in high school. They were doing the jazz festivals. I think it was with Maynard, if I'm correct. But
could be. I think he played with Maynard Ferguson.
Yeah, it was just badass. When that record came out, so that's when I first actually became aware of you, because you were starting to be on the cover of Bass Player magazine, and I wasn't really familiar with Tallis at that point. But when I heard that record, I was like, holy hell, who are these guys? And even Steve, I kind of knew his name a little bit, but that as Eat 'Em and Smile, I guess it was just killer. How did that come about? Did you guys write together, or?
Yeah, we got together in the basement, and we'd be fooling around with an idea, and Dave would say, come downstairs, go, well, that's cool, that sounds like a verse, now make a chorus up. Okay, now give me a bridge and two more choruses. And then he'd record it on his cassette recorder, go out and write lyrics or get an idea to it, drive around. He'd have his buddy drive around on a convertible while he sat there and wrote.
Yeah.
Cool. And Dave really kind of engineered the whole thing.
Interesting.
So he really engineered the whole thing, and a lot of other things that I don't know if he got credit for, but should have. When we started the live show on tour, I go up and do my solo, Steve would do his solo, but Dave, about 3 or 4 shows in, Dave goes, "It's not good enough. It's not entertaining."
Really?
Yeah, it's really good, but it's just
he was a master showman. I mean, whatever you think of him, I mean, he knows that, man, for sure.
And so he said, so let's do this. Let's make it like a battle. Steve, you start playing. Billy, you run over, push him aside, and take over. And then he pushes you, and then you run. And basically, it was his idea completely. So from that, there must be hundreds of bands that took that idea and turned it into their thing.
Sure.
And I'll see these bands from some other country doing the show in Japan. They got the guitar player running up to the bass player, and the bass player running to the guitar player.
Wait, that looks familiar.
That kind of it's been Dave planted that seed. So
yeah. So did you? I mean, I guess it would have been a life-changing gig for you, right? It just really it kind of ramped things up career-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so how long was that? I guess that was like 2 years with Dave, right?
How long was?
How long did well, you guys toured? How long was the tour initially? Was that like a year-long tour, or?
Yeah, we just toured U.S. and Canada. We didn't go overseas at all.
Oh, really? Interesting.
No. So we started in the summer of '86.
Interesting.
Went into the winter of '87, I believe.
Okay, and then you And then with
I don't recall. It's the good thing about that is somebody has that written down somewhere. So
exactly. And then Mr. Big, how did that come about?
well, I love Dave and wanted to start my own band, and I wanted to put some great players together. I wanted it to be a vocal band. Talus was a vocal band. We
Yeah,
sang.
because you sang in Talus too, right? You guys traded vocals.
Yeah, we all sang. It was a lot of three-part harmony, but we did
Right.
Crosby, Stills and Nash and Three Dog Night and all that stuff. That was all.
Awesome.
Yeah, you see Mr. Big now doing "It's for You," the Three Dog Night song. That was a Talus song. We
okay.
played that back in Talus. Same thing with all the Crosby, Stills and Nash song we did. "Carry On" in Japan, the full Crosby, Stills and Nash song. We did that in Talus also. That was kind of a thing for Talus was a vocal band, so I wanted to have that. So right. I also wanted to have some great players. I knew about Paul. He was a Talus fan. He was, I think he was attended my very first clinic I ever did.
Oh, okay.
And we used to play in Pittsburgh, and he'd be in the front of the stage watching the band and stuff. He's just a little kid still.
Right.
And so I knew him, and I knew he was a great player. And then I knew Pat Torpy also. I'd seen him around, had some mutual friends. And then I found Eric to do the vocals, and we got lucky because we got an amazing manager from the beginning, a guy named Herbie Herbert.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the founding fathers of the music business. So he was really the key to a lot of our success.
Right.
And,
yeah. I mean,
we went on. We did a record, and we used Kevin Elson as a producer.
Okay.
Not Keith Olsen. Every time we say Kevin,
Keith. Yeah, Keith I remember Olsen? Keith from Sound City.
You mean Keith Olsen? No, it's Kevin Elson. Keith Olsen. No, it's Kevin Elson. So he's worked with Keith Olsen, and I said, well, give up after a while.
Right.
But Kevin was just a genius producer, one of the best live mixers in the world. He mixed the Michael Jackson Bad tour. Wow. He mixed all Journey, Always, Everywhere, and he was just a genius guy and a wonderful man. And he actually came out on the road and did our front of house sound too. So
wow,
we had some great pluses in our column from the very beginning. That was a big help to us. So we went on. First record did okay, good but not great, and then the second record came out and we had a hit.
Yeah. So that must have been like a rocket ship because that was a big song.
Oh, it was number one in 14 countries.
Right.
To this day, I get 2 or 3 emails and messages of people from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, or the Philippines, or Ecuador, or Finland, or Belarus.
All those places.
Mongolia.
The thing about it is a song like that with, like you said, with the vocals and tied in with the video, because the video was great too, right? And that was
the video was kind of, well, actually, it's an afterthought because this thing is going up the charts. And somebody goes, well, we better do a video. who do we know that can do a video? So we managed to get somebody from the label, found somebody, and they just slapped it together quick. But it was like many things. If you don't think it through so much, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah, sometimes you overthink it, right?
Same with a musician. If you think, you stink. If you're thinking about it, you're thinking about it.
Yeah, sometimes you have to get out of your own way, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So Nancy Bennett was the woman who put that wonderful, great videographer and dear, sweet woman as well.
Yeah.
Great friend. She put that together, made it happen, and #1 MTV. So pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely like the MTV era, big time in that time zone, right?
Yeah.
The visuals are important. So let's talk about, because you're holding your bass. So let's talk about that bass. So you have your original Talus bass, which a lot of people are familiar with.
Yeah, it's on the wall right there.
Nice. Very nice.
She is. That's the wife. Next to her is her sister. And next to that is the 30-year anniversary Yamaha.
Right. Tribute. That's exactly where I'm going. So, but tell me how did the Yamaha thing first come about?
Well, in winter of '84, I think I came out to. I may have come out for the NAMM show.
Okay.
Oh no, I came out. Sorry, we came out in December of '84 to play a show at the Country Club with Talus, because we're getting to a point where we're had a bunch of label interest, and we almost got signed again, and so we're doing a showcase out in LA at the Country Club. So band flew out, crew drove the gear out, and I had a day off there. And Yamaha contacted me. They saw me in the 1983 was in the spotlight of new talent column by Mike Varney,
Right.
guitar.
Yeah.
And I played
Mike is a legendary guy. He's sort of responsible for a lot of people getting
he is one of my dearest friends.
Yeah,
and
he lives out here.
He is hilarious. God,
yeah,
I know he's up late all the time, and I gotta give him. I get up super early, so I'm gonna call him when I get up early.
Yeah, he's a good. We see him around Vegas. Actually, he's a good guy.
Oh, he's the best. I love Mike. He's been done. He found Eric Martin for me, and he's just a great guy. So anyway, we were out there, and Yamaha contacted me and said, we'd like to talk with you about maybe making a bass for you. And I said, well, I got my P bass, but I knew the P bass's days were numbered because it was beat, senseless, and all the new Fenders at that time weren't up to speed. The Fender's great now. Fender's as good as it ever was, but during the short amount of time there, during the mid '80s, quality was not good. So I had seen a Yamaha bass, and I just marveled at how awesome it was put together. Because I've done a little bit of woodworking myself, so I can kind of tell what's right and what's wrong to some degree.
Sure, and you're experienced. You know what you like, so
yeah. So I went out. A friend of mine drove me down to Orange County, where the Yamaha headquarters is. I talked with their people there, and they said, we'd like to maybe do a bass and make your thing. So I said, okay, let's go. And I'd already pardon me one second.
It's okay.
I had already had a deal with Kramer.
Oh, okay.
Because Ed Van Halen with Kramer and everybody, they contacted me and said, would I like to endorse the Kramer bass?
Yeah, and they were really big in that mid-'80s thing for sure, too.
Yeah. So I got the Kramer bass, and it was okay. But there was some things about it that just didn't sit right. I didn't know why. So I went down there to the Kramer factory, and I watched them putting them together. And I said, no way I can do this. It was just really a lot of big mistakes were being made. And they were so hot, they were just churning guitars out because they were selling so hot. And so I said, and they had already sent me a bunch of basses, and I was poor as poor could be, driving my '77 Ford Pinto, living in an apartment with 3 other guys sharing a rent.
Right.
And at that time, for me to send all that gear back to them, indicated that there's no way I could in good conscience endorse this
right. I mean, that's the thing, because you get I mean, not everybody gets free instruments, but if you do, you want to like them because you're doing the deal. But then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. And so Yamaha began then, after that meeting that I just mentioned, to work on one of their BB series modified for me.
Oh, okay.
And then it was okay, and I used it on Skyscraper. I used it on a couple other things. Used it on the Eat 'Em Smile tour for the encore song.
Right.
It's right now at Yamaha being refurbished, but it had a wider body, so it just I was used to the same bass on me for 20 years.
Yeah, and it's a very different neck from a precision, right? It's
but it was great bass, but it just didn't. And if I played only standing up, it might have been fine. But so they started another one called the RBX, but it was designed initially for domestic Japan, so it was small because people generally are shorter and smaller in Japan on average. So it was kind of, and they tried to put a fat neck on it, so it looked ungainly and kind of odd. I have a double neck version of it, which is also getting refurbished right now, which is nice. Yeah. But then we went. A guy named Rich Lasner worked for Yamaha as a designer for a while, and he's designed a lot of great iconic guitars for many companies, artist series, and he came up with the basis of this.
Okay.
And then we worked from there.
Yeah, because it's a process, right? Trying to get everything right and getting the right size, the right feel.
Yeah.
Of the neck. Yeah.
Well, Yamaha's an amazing company. They managed to. I remember the first version that came out, the first prototype. I was in Japan, and I said, "Here's the real test. Can I just put it on and go up on stage and play it?"
Right. Sure.
Without anything. And I did, and I thought that was impossible because I got to micro tweak every little aspect of every bass.
Yeah.
But it was great. It played great, sounded great, and
Yeah, I love it, because I was in Tokyo with Cirque du Soleil for 4 years. And I had a good
that's right.
relationship,
That's right.
yeah, a good relationship with the Yamaha Art guys, which is our artist relations team there. And like they're all about making it right, like their
Yeah,
attention to detail. And and I guess it's Hamamatsu, right, is where the custom,
Hamamatsu is the city, yeah,
right?
and they have a couple offices in the Tokyo area too. But
Yeah, the Shibuya. Yeah, that's a good, the company is great. And the thing about Yamaha too is they have the power and they have the resources for the ads and and I think that's really kind of also brought, a lot to what you do because it helps spread the word, right? Um,
yeah, it's nice to be with a big company. It's the same as a record label. When
right.
you're with a huge label, they got the power to do stuff, but
You can
it's
also
hard.
think, right.
It's hard to turn. You got this giant ship in the water that you got to turn, and it takes a long time for it to make that turn. Where a
Yeah.
little label can do all kinds of things real quick and right, but
Right.
they don't have that kind of.
The
So it's a
muscle. Yeah.
trade-off. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
6 of
Yeah.
one, half dozen of the other.
And then
But they've been great, and they do have a lot of personnel here in the USA now that are in
yeah.
charge of a lot of things. Where before it was always Japan-centric, which
Mhm.
was great, but it took a long time. So
Yeah,
now
they got Yamaha
sped up
guitars in
quite.
Burbank and all that. Right?
Well, actually, they're in out in Thousand Oaks now.
Oh,
They moved
right,
out there.
Calabasas. Yeah.
Out
Um,
here where because they bought Line 6, and Line 6 is there too.
yeah, yeah. That's funny because actually, it's always they also now they have Ampeg too. I think so. It's like they're always kind
Yeah,
of
well,
changing.
it's a nice group of gear. The Line 6 stuff I love.
Yeah,
The
it's
Yamaha,
cool.
of course, I love, and the Ampeg. Well, I don't use it anymore, but it
Right.
certainly has a place in my heart.
Yeah, it's a classic. So also you have had a long-standing relationship with DiMarzio, and
Yeah,
you just designed a new pickup, right? A new version. Tell us a little
exactly.
bit about that.
Oh, it's exploded too. It's people have been going crazy for it. I'm really pleased, and had several conversations with Larry DiMarzio about it. And they're really doing great, and I'm glad to see a couple other players that like have an eye. If you have the fender cutout, which is that shape,
Right, the
that
traditional. Yeah.
it's pretty standard, and any company that makes replacement pickups for bass, they make it in that configuration.
Right.
So I've had people write to me that you have all kinds of different basses that have put them in and love it.
Yeah.
So basically, this is one of my versions of it from years ago,
Hmm.
and the pickup is rounded, and the little things that hold the screw are lower, so that screw isn't
Yeah.
in your way.
It's more player friendly.
Yeah, way more player friendly. So I gave that idea to Larry, and he ran with it and did a couple unique things that were his idea.
Hmm.
The whole of the pickup is now in a shell of nickel,
Oh,
which is non-magnetic, so it
right.
won't interfere with magnetic pull, but it shields the pickup completely.
Right.
So
So it's super quiet.
there's no interference and noise at all. It's incredible, and the pickup is actually built on a little circuit board.
Oh, interesting.
And
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot. I mean, they're doing a great job promoting that. And
yeah, it's been great, and I'm getting constant emails of people that haven't put them in and love them. One
awesome.
bass player friend of mine, he said every time he plays, the engineer, gets on the talk back. He goes, "What kind of bass you got there? What the
Yeah.
heck is it? What kind of pickup is that? It sounds
Yeah.
great in here.
I know,
So
and it's funny because I've had all sorts of different basses, over the years, and all the fancy stuff and electronics. And I always go towards the P bass. That sound, recording
yeah,
wise,
yeah. For
you
me,
know,
it's one less thing to worry about too. You can go bananas and put, you know, pack this thing with all kinds of electronics and
right?
wiring, but this just the basic wire wrapped around a magnet
Yep,
with volume control amp.
yep.
That's
Leo knew what he was doing.
he did. He did.
It stood up well. So now you have the 30th anniversary, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's sold out.
Wow.
They're sold out everywhere. There was only 30 of them though. So
Oh, okay.
they made
Interesting.
100,000 and sold out. That'd be nice. But they wanted to do a limited version because they wanted to really fine tune the oversee the quality control really
Right.
tight. They wanted it to be a very special thing and not just churn them out.
Yeah.
So they're all righteous. They are very
Yeah.
righteous. And I'm seeing on my Facebook, I got number 4, I got number 20, I got people that have gotten them around the world. And I'm very very thankful for that.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
it's thing plays great. I've used it on stage live a couple times already.
Oh, great.
It's
When
just
were those released? It was pretty recently, right?
a couple months ago.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, they're gone. So I only had that. The one I have is the prototype. I don't even have one.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You know what's great about Yamaha is, and I was a Yamaha guy for a very long time, and even their less expensive bases, everything's solid. They all
oh,
play well.
yeah. My engineer has a $200 Yamaha acoustic.
Yep,
People come over with all these amazing acoustics to record,
yep,
and incredible name value, very expensive guitars. They go, hey, try the Yamaha.
yeah.
Man. Let's use that.
Yeah, they just it's something about the culture in Japan. Like they just they work really hard to make it right.
Yeah.
And that's something I miss actually not living there, because it's just it's a different world. It's a challenging world. But I know you guys have always been, like, Mr. Big was gigantic in Japan, right? And you, as that's, I guess that's probably a country you love going to, I would imagine.
Well, Japan is a lot of great memories. I've been there, I think, over 65 times now.
Wow.
I've flown to Japan, doing tours and promotion, playing
Yeah.
with other people there and stuff like that. So I've gotten to know the people and the culture and the country very, very well. And it's an amazing experience, especially as an American of my age, because we grew up, we're the post World War II generation.
Right.
And all we saw were movies about,
Yep.
killing Germans and killing Japanese people. And to know Germany now and the friends I have there now,
Yeah, exactly.
and the wonderful people, it was really enlightening. And the same with Japan, just to go there, and sweet, polite, incredible people.
Yep.
I don't know what the heck happened way back then when both cultures got hijacked by evil.
It happens. Yeah.
But it does, sadly. But now I just love Japan. And have so many friends there. Same with Germany too.
And you also do, I mean, you do a lot of clinics. Did you enjoy doing those?
Very much.
Yeah.
I learn more from them than the attendees usually.
Interesting.
A lot of times people ask me a question. So how do you do? And I go,
I mean, think about it.
See how I do that? Well, yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because we were talking before about thinking, and I don't really, and that's why you asked a question about how I develop my style. And it relates also that you don't really think it through. These things kind of just happen. Right. So when you're playing and this thing happens, okay, and you don't really spend time dissecting, well, the reason why it worked is because this minor diminished went into the I don't know.
That's something that people ask me about, like, how do you do teaching? I'm like, I like to teach, but I actually more view it as coaching, because I don't think of things like you said. I don't think like I'm going to play a mixolydian here.
Yeah. And then I think musicians that do that, no offense, but I think it's like when you're speaking and when you're talking to someone, and sometimes they're not listening to you. They're just thinking of what they're going to say next.
Exactly.
So it's not really a two-way communication.
That's the interview thing.
Exactly. So for you to be playing, it's got to be analogous to communicating to another person, because it's a group of people.
You got to be in the moment.
But you're communicating back and forth. If you're thinking about what you're going to say instead of just speaking, when you see someone that speaks from a teleprompter, and they do it, and sometimes they can do it really great, and it seems like they're really saying it, but you found out later, no, they were reading the whole thing. They just
it's different.
It, put in a couple of ums and ahs to make it sound real. But then when you see somebody that's just speaking, even though it may not be as articulate and grammatically perfect, it touches you more. Right. So in the same way, I don't know music theory or I can't read music. I don't know what a lot of things. I know some things, but mostly I don't. Yeah, I know how to play it, but I don't know how to explain it, because it's So I think that's a very important point that a lot of young players miss, is they're thinking it through and they're thinking about it. And they're trying to, how do I develop a style? Right. You don't.
Yeah. You have to go out there and do it.
Yeah. You just go out there and play, and eventually, oh, look, there's a style there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about music too is it's really about communication and connection. And like you said, if you're too into your brain thinking about stuff, you kind of lose that in some way, right?
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with intellectual music that is put together with some forethought and constructed in a way along the rules of music or bypassing the rules. That's cool. But when you perform it, you've got to own it. Right. If you're sitting there, robotically doing the parts, though, in all fairness, that's art too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's also learning the gig. If you get on a new gig, you got to learn the parts, and then but at some point
Yeah,
you got to get past that, right?
yeah, and you know, it's all art, even if it's done robotically and with total thought,
Yeah,
with no heart and no soul. It's still a form of doing art, and
yeah,
we sometimes we need to see the opposite end of the spectrum
right.
to get relative to where the other side of the spectrum is.
Yeah, yeah, and it's everybody has something to bring to the table. It's and people like different things, which is all good.
I believe so. I believe
Yeah,
so. And as much as I like, there's a lot of types of music that I don't really like, and I don't listen to. I don't listen to country music really, but
yeah,
once in a while, I did a recording with this girl named Hillary Klug, and she's
hmm
a clogger
oh,
with hands on a board,
I think I want to see the
and
video.
she dances while she plays the violin.
Oh,
Just
okay,
a little, it keeps rhythm with her feet, but it's kind of a dance, and
right,
it's
right,
total Americana, total country.
yep,
It's so charming and so endearing. Not my thing, but
yeah,
I think she's fantastic, and I love it, and I can listen to it.
yeah.
Similar to there's just a lot of types of music that aren't my thing, but you can find something about them.
Yeah, and you can appreciate the passion and the effort it took to make it happen, right? I mean, even if you don't
Yeah,
particularly like the style.
there's always a long story behind how that came to be for everyone.
Yeah, true. So what's the looking forward to next year? Hopefully, we all get back to work musically. But what's coming up for you in the near future?
Well, we're just about to finish a new Talus record.
Oh, okay,
Now, Talus was that's the version of Talus that I left in '85 to go join Dave.
okay,
And instead of like rewriting the songs better and smarter, because I know a lot more now than I did then,
sure, yeah,
let's do it like we did it when we did it. And so we're doing exactly a little snapshot of what we did back in 1985, and
awesome,
from the heart and for real.
right,
And it's really cool. It's shaping up for there. The drummer Mark Miller is as good as ever, and he was just one of the greatest drummers. Actually, Dave Roth flew him to L.A. initially to check him out on drums
oh,
because
okay,
he had come to see Talus a couple times
sure,
after I had that first meeting with him when we
ah,
went again on tour.
right.
And so, unfortunately, Mark he got married, and his wife was going to have a baby, and he just wasn't into the
Yeah,
rock.
timing was wrong.
So,
That's exciting, actually. I'm sure there's a lot of Talos fans out there that are excited to get that
yeah,
when it gets out.
we're doing all songs that we never really recorded in the studio. Some we did
Oh,
on the live speed on ice record, but
okay,
they're never recorded for real in the studio. So they're all those songs and all the songs from our live set, which we never recorded.
right.
But there's kind of just a snapshot of the way we left it back when we did.
What's going on with the Winery Dogs, which is a band I love.
Thank you.
It's so
I
good,
love that band too. I love
so
playing with
good.
Steve. I love playing with Mike, and I love those songs.
Yeah.
And it's a vocal band too. All three of us are singing, which is great. Hoping to be able to get together and start writing very soon. That was the
Mm,
plan. The plan was initially we're going to continue on with Sons of Apollo through this year,
okay.
up to about the summer or fall.
Right. Also an awesome project. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that band also. Derek, Ron, Bumblefoot, Jessica Soto, myself, and Mike. It's a joy to play with those
Yeah.
guys. Really great. So, and Richie was going to continue on because he had his 50-year anniversary, 50th birthday record, 50 for 50. He wrote 50 songs.
Cool.
I remember he called me about at song 3D. He goes, I don't know if I got it anymore. But he did. He pulled it off and actually really wrote songs too. He didn't like pick up old demos and try to redo them.
The thing about him that he's another one of those guys. As soon as you hear him, you know it's him. He has a very unique thing, playing
Right.
wise and singing. It's killer.
Superstar.
Yeah.
Superstar. I don't know. I know few guys that play and sing as
Yeah,
well.
man. It's so soulful, and you guys at that combination of the three of you all have like your own unique flavor, right?
Yeah, the Winery Dogs are really, really nice thing. So that was the plan, and Richie was going to finish like around the end of the summer or the fall, and we're all going to get together. So now Richie
Mhm.
couldn't tour at all for his 50 for 50.
Right.
Winery Dogs had to stop our fourth show into the European tour. We had to turn around,
Oh wow. Okay.
so everybody's out of biz, and
Right.
so hopefully we can start writing with the Winery Dogs soon. I can.
Mhm.
There's no guarantees, but that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
And I hope to maybe cut a couple tracks in the meantime to as a placeholder for Sons of Apollo, if that's possible.
Right.
and see what happens. But I'm up for anything and everything. So
Yeah, it'd be awesome to
whatever.
maybe some kind of a live stream show with them would be fun too. I mean, it seems like that's been the thing lately is trying to
Yeah,
put all that together.
I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it. So
Okay, I came up with the idea. I'm sure it's been suggested, but I think that's that's been, I mean, I guess that's been a savior for some people, just being able to get their music out there with the live stream thing with the internet. I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be much going on, right?
yeah. As much trouble as the internet is sometimes, as we
Yeah,
just witnessed.
yeah. Zoom fun.
Well, Zoom is really taken off. It's
Yeah, actually, you know what? I mean, the thing about it is, like, I have a studio here that I use in Vegas for podcasting, but this is so much more convenient, and for also for people like you, which unless you came to Vegas, I wouldn't be able to really access you. It'd have to be by phone. So it's nice to have the option with
yeah, yeah. Because
video, and
we come in town for a show, there is no spare time.
I know exactly right.
Yeah, get into the venue at noon, start warming up, blah, 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 sound
Yeah,
check, maybe eat. I hate eating before I go on stage.
yeah, me
Get down
too.
to the
Yeah,
show, say goodbye to everybody. It's packed up, get on the bus and go. I've had people write to me, yeah, next time you're in,
yeah,
Boise, stop over. And they stop over. And
I know. Yeah. I know. Then you're like running from, especially if you have a tight tour where you're running from date to date. It's like, yeah, you just want to like go back to the best of sleep.
we get all kinds of invitations. Yeah, you swing by when you're on tour. Swing by. There's no swinging anywhere, bro. We gotta go from one gig to the other. And,
Yeah.
that's how it works.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, tell people how they can find you online. I know you've got your website, right?
Yeah, that's BillySheehan.com. It's just kind of a placeholder.
Mhm.
You can click email me there and it comes to me.
Okay.
I think it's got a link to my Facebook and other stuff, but it's just kind of because it's not so much a website thing. It's mostly Facebook, Instagram,
Sure.
Twitter.
Yeah. That seems to be I mean, we actually trade messages on Facebook
That's for sure.
periodically.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because what's that? Sorry.
That's, how, that's why this isn't happening.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's cool because now, I mean, I'm in touch with a lot of people that you'd never think you would normally be in touch with, Leland and Marcus and all these guys that way back when you wouldn't be able to really get a hold of them. You have to go through managers.
Yeah, I like the no manager thing. Matter of fact, the only thing that's hard for sometimes is setting up interviews because
Right.
people,
Sure.
like I know you, so and you caught me at a good time.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes people write to me, "Hey, can you do an interview?"
Yeah.
Yeah. When? I go, you tell me.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
this time, and then I don't have a publicist texting me going, "You got an interview in 5 minutes. You got to do it." So in the meantime, I'm recording and doing stuff. And the next thing you know, I get a message. So are you there? And I go, I'm not even home. What? Oh, the interview. I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody coordinated help. So I've had to make many apologies for forgetting. But I try to write it all down on my lengthy to-do list.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I have lists. I email myself all day long trying to I gotta remember this. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, and I think
It's my pleasure.
it's awesome. You have such a influence and have been an influential player for so many years, and I think it's awesome that and also when we've met in person, like Bass Player Live in LA, you have such a great spirit, and you can tell that you still have a passion for what you do, which I think is really awesome and exciting.
Thanks. Yeah, I that's the gift I'm most grateful for is the fact that I love doing it. And
Yeah,
I'll sit down here in my studio, down in my man cave, and go for hours and hours. And in the garage, I got my little amp set up, so I turn it down
awesome.
and
Yeah.
play there and feed the chipmunks. So it just a lot of playing, and a lot of
Yeah.
my iTunes is over 2 terabytes of music, and
Great.
it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for a lot, but just the fact that I still enjoy it, it's still exciting to me.
Right.
I get my iPhone and we'll set it up in a selfie video.
Right.
And I'm working on something. I'll set it down and explain okay, the chorus is right here, and then it goes in. And so I got
Yeah.
thousands of little song snippets and licks and
That's awesome. It's great. Like I said, like having you can feel your passion, which I think is awesome, and that's something that I think hopefully we all strive to. Whatever you do, if it's music, if it's art, or whatever it is that you, yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me, Billy. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I'm
It's
sorry.
good to speak with you again, and let's stay in touch. And whatever else you might need from me, you know how to get in touch. And
Awesome.
anyone
Thank
else wants to get in touch, just so they know, on Facebook with a little blue check mark, verified.
you. Right.
Instagram, I think I'm verified there too, and Twitter
Hmm.
as well. If
Yeah.
you write to me, I get it, I see it. It's not somebody else, and I answer almost everything. And it
Right.
is a gargantuan task, and the
Yeah,
time
I bet.
but
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful that people are kind enough to get in touch with me. So it's the least I can do to at least fire a thumbs up back or a thank you back. So if anybody wants to get in touch, please do.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Billy. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. We'll see you very soon.
All right. Ciao. Bye.